Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to move to a new part of the research process, the find stage. And the first thing that we're going to find are secondary sources. That's normal for pretty much all research projects. You generally start with what's already been done on your topic by the scholars in your field. Historians are no different. So when we start research projects, we generally start by looking at what other historians have said first. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find secondary sources. We're going to look at, first of all, kind of my process for finding secondary sources, and I'm going to introduce you to some of the lingo that I use to describe that process. And then second, I'm going to kind of show you how I find these things, what my tips are, and the types of things that I do to track down good secondary sources. And speaking of good secondary sources, what do we mean by secondary sources? Well, if you can remember from the previous video, secondary sources to historians are your bae. That's right, this video is going to be all about finding books, articles, and essays written by historians that you can use to kind of set up and understand the historiography of your topic. All right, so let's do it. All right, let's start by just going through kind of the process that I use to find secondary sources. But before we go further on this process, I have to teach you some vocabulary. You need to learn the lingo of historiographic essays and historiographic research. Okay, term number one, beachhead source. A beachhead source is kind of the first source that you find that's really directly relevant to the topic that you want to focus on. Why do I call it a beachhead source? Because it's essentially going to open the door to finding lots more sources on that topic. The best beachhead sources are sources that are really recent. The more recent they are, usually the more helpful they are in finding other secondary sources on that topic. So why are beachhead sources so useful? Well, because of our second term, poaching the notes. What is poaching the notes? Well, poaching the notes is essentially a way to build out a bibliography, to find lots of other secondary sources on the same historical topic. Essentially, all you do is you find one source, right? One beachhead source, a journal article or a book or something. And then you go to the footnotes and the bibliography of that source, and you find all the other secondary sources that source cites. This is a great way of building a bibliography very, very quickly. It's called poaching the notes. You go and you basically steal other people's citations and use that to build out your bibliography. And the process here that you go through in trying to find enough sources for this historiographic essay is to find a beachhead source, poach the notes, then find those sources and poach their notes, and do this over and over and over again. What you're going to be left with is a huge bibliography of sources. And that's great. That's exactly what we want. Because to understand a historiographic debate, you have to find essentially like every historical work that's been written on that debate. And so in the process of finding secondary sources, you start with a beachhead source, you kind of poach the notes and build out that bibliography, and really you want to get to a point that we call critical mass. Critical mass is essentially when you get to a point where you are poaching the notes on a source that you've just seen, and basically you start going through their footnotes and you go, yeah, I already have that one. Yeah, I have that one too. Yes, I've already found that one. Yes, I found that one too. And when you get to a point where you basically found almost all the secondary sources that a person cites on a particular topic, then you've reached critical mass. You've found essentially the whole of the debate. Now, rest assured, that is going to be way more sources than you're going to have to actually deal with for your essay. That's okay. That's the process. The first thing you want to do is find everything you can on that debate, as much as possible. And then from there, you're going to narrow it down. So how do you narrow it down? Well, you narrow it down by focusing on what I call a core source or core sources. First of all, shout out to Planks. Great for your core. Second, what is a core source? Well, a core source is essentially a secondary source that gets talked about and cited over and over and over again in lots of different books, articles, and essays. So when you're going through your process of poaching the notes and you keep seeing the same book being cited over and over again, that tells you that that book is probably a core source. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that a core source doesn't necessarily mean it's the best source. Sometimes books are core sources because they're really, really lousy. But that makes them really important for the historiographic debate because a really, really lousy book can spark other historians to write lots of other books responding to that book. And so in analyzing the debate, one of the things you'll have to notice is, well, hey, this one book, this one kind of lousy book was really important because it essentially gave birth to a whole debate about this topic. Okay, now let's take a look at how to actually find these things. How do you find books, articles, and essays? Okay, so now that we know who your bay is, now we're going to focus on another question. Where's your bay? Let's start with books. So there are lots of different ways to find books, and I'm going to take you through a few of them. First thing you can do, and really the best place to start, is to search the Baylor Library website using keywords. So what the Baylor Library website will get you is basically access to whatever's in the Baylor catalog. Whatever books that are in the library or the library has a subscription to will be available through the Baylor Library website. But my big suggestion here is to start with keywords, but then to use subject terms. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so what's the process for finding books through the Baylor Library catalog? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. You just go to the Baylor Library website, and you type in this search bar here, which is the one search bar, whatever keywords you want to work on. For example, today we'll start with women's suffrage, United States. So OneSearch is a really powerful tool because it searches not only books, but articles and all sorts of other documents and resources that are out there. If we just want to focus on books, though, we can easily filter it by using this tab over here. And what do we find with our results? Well, we've already located some really good search results for our historiographic essay. The one at the very top here, Women's Movements in the United States, Women's Suffrage, Equal Rights, and Beyond by Stephen Buechler, we know is potentially a probably pretty good book. Why do we know that? Well, because it's from a university press. Check that out. So the easy response here is just to go find it and check out this book. This one happens to be at the Moody Jones Libraries, and the Baylor website, the Baylor Library website has this wonderful little tool called Find It. And if you click here, it'll show you exactly where it is. This is Jones Library, second floor, this shelf right here. Boom. So we found one book, but we can find lots of others by using some of the tools built into the OneSearch catalog. So for example, let's say we were interested in this book too, right? Recasting the Vote, How Women of Color Transformed the Suffrage Movement. University of North Carolina Press, 2020, that looks like a great potential source for a beachhead source. So obviously we can read it online because the library has a subscription to it as an ebook, but we can also use it to find other books like it. If you click into it, for example, what you'll get is the full entry here. And it gives you everything like the publisher and the publication date and everything like that. But then if you scroll down, here are the subject terms. These subject terms are really, really useful because essentially what they are is like hashtags. All the books that have this same hashtag, you can sort of find by clicking on that hashtag and then it'll list it out for you. So for example, if we wanted to know more about suffragists, United States history, we could just click here and now it's doing a new search on this subject heading. And look at that, we get a lot of other books that seem to be really good. Why They Marched, Untold Stories of Women Who Fought for Their Right to Vote. The March of the Women, a revisionist analysis of the campaign for women's suffrage, and lots of others. So this is a great way to build out a bibliography of books, right? Find one that's right on your subject, click into it, use the subject terms. It's as easy as that. Second suggestion is that once you find something in the Baylor Library website, go find it. Actually find it, like in the library. Because when you do that, you're going to be able to find a lot of other books that are all on the same topic. That's because libraries are organized based on the Library of Congress cataloging system. And the way this cataloging system works is that basically books that are on the same theme are shelved together. So if you find one book that's directly on your topic, chances are the books next to it are also going to be on your topic. This is a really easy way called browsing the stacks, right? A really easy way of expanding your bibliography very, very quickly. Third, if you don't find much in the Baylor Library website, that probably means that Baylor doesn't have a lot of books that are on your particular topic. That's okay. You don't have to panic. You don't have to switch topics. It just means that you need to search a little harder in some different places. The best place to search for books that aren't at Baylor is in a database called WorldCat. So WorldCat is an incredibly powerful database and a really, really important one for you to know. In brief, WorldCat is basically just a catalog of, or a database of the catalogs of virtually every library in the world, hence WorldCat. Really, it searches libraries all across the world and tells you which libraries have which books. So if you do the same exact search that you did in the Baylor Library catalog, and if it came up empty in the Baylor Library catalog, it might be filled with books in WorldCat. The problem with WorldCat is that since it searches like catalogs of libraries all over the world, like thousands of libraries, your search results can get really big really fast. So in order to avoid getting totally overwhelmed, I think the best way to use WorldCat is to first start with a book that you've already found, say in the Baylor Library catalog, and then find that exact same book in WorldCat, but go to the subject terms and click on those in order to find other books like that may or may not be at Baylor. You can even search the other subject terms that are identified with that book, right? Nearby subject terms to do the same sort of thing. That's a great way to fill out a bibliography and make sure that you know you're getting basically all the literature on this subject instead of just the things that Baylor has. So let's take, for example, Cahill's book, Recasting the Vote. What we can do to use this is we go and access WorldCat. Best way to do this is to go back to the Baylor Library page, click on Databases, and then this one is so popular, it's such an important database that this one is right on the home page. See it right here? WorldCat. Boom. And then what I do is I just try to find that book on WorldCat first. So I plug in the author's name and an abbreviated title. When I search, boom, I find it, right? But let's say we just want to use this to find other books like it. Well, again, the way to do this is to use the subject terms. And here again, we have some really helpful ones. Say, women's suffrage, United States history. This looks like a really good one for our historiographic essay. So if we click on this, look at that. We're going to get a lot more books. 2,100 results in just this one subject term. So you might actually need to zoom in even further, right? Look at subject terms that are even more specific. Or you can just spend some time browsing and looking to see if any of these are worthwhile. The case in point is that this is going to rapidly expand your catalog of books, right? Your potential books that you can find. And of course, you can use any of the other search criteria or things to narrow the results by, say, date of publication or something like that too. That's a great way to build up your bibliography. So what happens if you find something on WorldCat that Baylor doesn't have, but you want to use? Well, then you use a process called interlibrary loan. Interlibrary loan is essentially an agreement that Baylor has with lots of other universities all across the world to sort of loan each other books when they're requested. So you can get virtually any book in the world if you want through Baylor. And it's all free, totally, utterly free. The system we use to manage interlibrary loan is called OSOFast. I'm going to show you how to put in an OSOFast request in just a second. All right, so what if we found some books using WorldCat, but Baylor doesn't have them? So from the search that I did before on women's suffrage in the United States, one of the books that I found was this one, Tara McCarthy's Respectability and Reform, Irish-American Women's Activism, 1880 to 1920. Let's see if Baylor has it. Well, you can see here that it's suggesting that it's at other libraries worldwide, which is another way of saying Baylor doesn't have this one. So what do we do? Well, the easiest way to deal with this is just to click on the book. And then look at what happens. WorldCat has this wonderful feature where it integrates into Baylor's catalog, and you can press this button right here, Request Item through Interlibrary Loan. That'll take you straight to OSOFast and have you doing it automatically, really, really easily. But let's pretend like we're doing it the old-fashioned way. Well, we go back to the Baylor Library webpage, and on the front page of the Baylor Library website, you can see this button right here, OSOFast. If you click on that, it's going to ask you to sign in, and then it's going to get you to this kind of main screen where you can place a request. See that you can request lots of different things. For our case, we're going to be requesting a book. So if you click on that, it gives you a form to fill out. You're going to add in the title, the author, the format, everything like that, and then just go down to the bottom and click Submit Request. When you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to go to the Interlibrary Loan office. They're going to order the book, and when it comes in, they're going to email you, and you could just go straight to the library and pick it up. All right, so we figured out how to find books. Now, how do we find articles? Well, first thing you could try is going to the Baylor website and using the one search bar. It'll search for journal articles too, but I don't really recommend this, and here's why. One search is going to search, the keywords that you put in, and it's just going to search the whole of Baylor's catalog, everything that Baylor has subscription to and everything. This is good, it's really powerful, but for our purposes, it's a little unhelpful. And that's because we're really looking specifically for works written by historians. We don't want works written by, scholars of other fields necessarily. And OneSearch, unfortunately, doesn't really know that. OneSearch is just going to search any article with the keywords that you put in, whether it be from a political scientist or from a sociologist or a biologist or anything, really. So how do we get articles by historians? Well, the way to find articles is to use databases. And the two most important ones, the ones I suggest to start with, are Historical Abstracts and America, History, and Life. These two databases are essentially the same exact thing. They search through a sort of catalog or an index of articles published in major historical journals all over the world. The only difference between the two databases is that America, History, and Life focuses all on journals that are about American history, and Historical Abstracts focuses on journals that publish on basically the history of everywhere except the United States. So the best place to start for articles, historical articles, right, are these two databases. But here's the thing to know about using Historical Abstracts and America, History, and Life. It will tell you what articles exist, but it won't get those articles for you. To actually get the articles, you're going to have to use our old friend, OSOFast. Now remember before, right, this is our screen from OSOFast. You can request lots of different things. If we wanted to request a book, we could, click on this one for books, scores, or media. But it's just as easy to request a journal article. In fact, it's even easier. If you click here and request an article, you put in all the information for the book and the journal title and the article title and everything like that. When you click Submit Request, they're not just going to send you the journal. Actually, what they're going to do is they're going to scan the article and send it to you directly to your email as a PDF. And the best part about it is that this is really quick. They can usually get you articles within a few days. So when you find something using Historical Abstracts or America, History, and Life, the first thing you'll do is go to OSOFast and request it. And within a few days, you'll have it in your inbox. So let's say Historical Abstracts and America, History, and Life are tapped out, though. You've done all you can there and you can't really find anything. Where else could you search for articles? Well, the next best database that I recommend is called Academic Search Complete. Academic Search Complete is another really powerful database. It searches journals of all kinds, right? So it's a little more like OneSearch in that it's not specifically for history journals. So you have to do the work of making sure that you're getting things from history journals specifically. But the best part about Academic Search Complete is that it is it's really recent, right? The database searches journals and published all the way from, 100 years ago or even beyond, all the way to last year. And when it gives you references, more often than not, it has links to the full text scans of the articles that you can get right away. Then finally, if those don't work, you can go to our old friend JSTOR. JSTOR is a great database. It has full text articles. The downside with JSTOR is that its purpose is not to function as a search database. Its purpose is to essentially be like a digital archive. JSTOR stands for Journal Storage. So it doesn't have journals published really, really recently. I think it usually goes up till about 5 or 8 years ago. That's the most recent stuff it has. But it contains runs of some of the most popular and some of the most important historical journals that are out there. So it's a good last place to look. Okay, last but not least, how do you find essays? This one is pretty straightforward. There's really one database, or two databases, but they're kind of the same thing. Two databases that really get you anywhere with finding essays. The first is called Essay and General Literature Index. Again, you can just find this by clicking on databases at the Baylor Library website. The second is the Essay and General Literature Retrospective. Okay, what are these things? These are just databases of essays, right? They mostly just have references. Again, once you find them, you'll just have to put in an OSOFast request and they will scan it for you and deliver it straight to your inbox. What's the difference between these two databases? Well, one of them covers things written from 1985 to the present, and the other covers things written from 1900 to 1984. That's it. That's the only difference. So give these a try, plug in some keywords, search around, see if you can find any essays that are out there, and then order them through OSOFast. Easy peasy. Okay, my last suggestion for finding secondary sources is to poach the notes. So you remember what this means. Poaching the notes essentially means going through the footnotes and the bibliography of a source that you have, say a journal article or a book or something, and then basically just using that as a way to fill out your own bibliography, right? Take the things that that person cites and go find them yourself. And this is a repetitive process. So if you have a book and you poach the notes of that book and you find another book, get that book and then poach the notes of that book, and then lather, rinse, repeat. This is honestly the fastest and most efficient way to fill out your bibliography. The one challenge with poaching the notes, of course, is that you can only ever find things printed before the first work that you find. So it's always best to have your beachhead source be a really, really recent work, because then when you poach the notes, you'll have a lot longer span of time that you can sort of search for. If you start with a book that's published in 1975, that means that the only sources you're going to find by poaching the notes are things published before 1975. But poaching the notes can be really great because it will not only give you great books, articles, and essays, but it'll usually give you books, articles, and essays that are really directly relevant to the historiographical debate of that book. Okay, so that's my quick hit on how to find secondary sources. I'm going to make another video later on that will show you kind of how to find primary sources. So that'll be something different. For right now, just focus on finding secondary sources. That's the first step in the find process. Second thing I want to remind you before I end this video, is that remember that for every secondary source that you find, it needs to be both academically legitimate and, for the purposes of a history paper, it needs to be a secondary source written by a historian. That's not because secondary sources from other scholars are not great. They are. They're wonderful. And sometimes people write interdisciplinary papers that engage that kind of scholarship in different fields. But when I teach students to write history papers, I kind of start them off by just trying to get them engaged with what historians say. That way they don't sort of fall into rabbit holes of different disciplines and different disciplinary questions. So when you're finding your secondary sources, make sure that you are finding academically legitimate sources and academically legitimate sources that are written by historians. Second, remember our research process. Find a beachhead source that's really good and solid. Use that beachhead source to find other sources by poaching the notes. And pay attention in the whole process to the core sources that you sort of see, right? What are the secondary sources that keep coming up over and over and over again? Those are going to structure kind of the historiography that you analyze for your paper. And finally, remember that that's kind of the point of this type of research, right? Secondary source research is really about establishing a historiographical conversation that your research will eventually sort of participate in or contribute to. So the reason that we do this kind of secondary source research is to do kind of the historiographical groundwork that will allow for us to make some sort of case for a significance for our own research in primary sources. All right, that's it for this video. Good job. See you in class.